Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Colleen. Commissioner Garza.
Here.
Commissioner Clark-Holman. Commissioner Kenizik. Chair Dobb,
Here.
you have a quorum present.
Thank you. Next item.
B, Chairwoman's remarks.
I have none. Next item.
C, approval of the January 10th, 2024 meeting minutes.
Okay, we don't have tablets today, so we have to do this old school. It's been moved by Commissioner Colleen. Is there support? Supported by Commissioner Clark-Holman. Any discussion on the meeting minutes? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Anyone wishing to abstain? Do I say this? Motion approved, or do you? Okay, I can't remember.
Motion
All right, next item.
D, unfinished business. There is none listed.
Next item.
Item 1, under new business, forwarding a final copy of the Office of Legislative Auditor General's engagement and other projects audit work plan for year 2024.
Thank you. Marcy, take it away.
Marcy Coral, Auditor General, let's introduce themselves.
Will Hamner, Audit Manager.
John Kellett, Audit Manager.
Thank you.
And I'm going to have Darcel Brown join us at the table. He was instrumental in getting the risk assessment questionnaires completed from the administration. Okay. What you have before you today, this is the OAG's 2024 audit plan. We do this plan every year in order to be in compliance with the government auditing standards and the standards for the Institute of Internal Auditors. And we've developed this risk-based audit approach. So I'm going to do a high-level presentation of the audit plan. Then if there's any questions, I'm available to answer them. So I'm going to skip page 3 of this presentation. I'm going to what I believe is the important slide, which is slide on page number 4. This describes our audit process. We begin where each year we perform our risk assessment. Then we develop and approve our audit plan. We bring it to the Committee on Audit. It goes to the full board, and then our plan is approved. We execute the audit plan by performing all the audits and other engagements. We report the findings and recommendations. Then from the findings and recommendations, we send out a request for a corrective action plan to the auditees. They provide the corrective action plan and we assess it and we present that to the Committee on Audit. If there's still some findings that are outstanding after the corrective action plan, we may come back based on audit resources and the risk and do a follow-up review of those findings. Then we start the cycle all over again. Not sure if anyone has any questions on our process. Okay. There's 3 lines of defense. Management is the first line of defense because they're responsible for identifying, assessing, establishing controls and monitoring risk. Oversight, such as finance, budget, and then the third one is internal audit. Some of the categories we use.
I'm sorry to, can we back up on that one real quick? Where would you say our external auditor fits in on the risk assessment?
As part of the oversight function.
Okay.
When they perform their audit, it's at a higher level and it's just to assert that it's financial statement assertion, where the internal, we go and look at the programs and things of that nature, a little deeper dive into programs.
Okay, thank you.
Some of the areas we assessed to perform the risk assessment, we looked at budgeted revenues and expenditures. When was the last time an audit was performed? Complexity of operations, outside interest and public exposure, regulatory and compliance, management, employee turnover, and reduction in staff, and the control environment. And what we do is we send out a risk assessment questionnaire to all the elected officials and all the department heads, asking them to assess their risk based on these categories. And that's where Darcel was very instrumental in helping us this year get the executive department's risk assessment questionnaires returned to us. Then once we received and I apologize for getting the audit.
Yes, Commissioner Colleen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And before we move on to the next page, the risk assessment, how do you interpret under last audit, the charter requires an audit of financial interactions of the county agencies at least once every 2 years. How do you define agencies?
We look at that as departments and elected officials. We know with the limited resources in our office, we cannot, and actually, I believe the way the charter is written, it's called every 2 years, every transaction. We know that's not possible. So what we try to do is cover at least every department or elected official every 2 years, but then also standards have changed over the years.
Right.
And now the plan should be more based on risk, where one elected official or department may be low risk, another one may be high risk. You may want to concentrate your audit on those areas.
Well, of course, if it's department, if that's there are in any department, and some more than others, myriad of sub. So I just don't want to, with the number of auditors we have, with the requirements of the charter. And this is the commission's oversight. That's why you're a part of the commission, Madam Auditor. That there are still extensive, shall we say, holes in the auditing that a lot of people haven't been looked at in a very long time.
You're correct.
All right, I'll just leave it at that. I just want to mention that. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Please proceed.
And I apologize for getting the audit plan out to everybody. I think I sent it out on Sunday morning. Darcel and I, we worked through Friday late into the afternoon, getting all the questionnaires back, and then we analyzed them over the weekend and then sent the plan out.
Well, we appreciate your hard work on that.
Some of the key concerns we noted in the risk assessment was still the retention of personnel, which is based on, I believe, salaries and benefits. We had the benefit task force subcommittee that looked at salaries and benefits. It may take time for some of those recommendations to get put in place with the collective bargaining agreements and determine if they're going to have an impact on retaining and attracting staff, but at least we're taking a step forward in that right direction. Outdated computer system. This is probably always going to be an issue until our ERP system is up and running. And then it's just policies and procedures. Department and divisions need to be constantly updating their policies and procedures to make sure they're current. This plan is based on, the current plan we have is based on 45,000 engagement hours. Of course, we only have 9 full-time auditors and 1 part-time. So we believe based on the current direct hours, we should be able to complete 20 projects. Some of the key proposed projects on the audit plan are the EDC parking garage. Grants, we believe grants is always important to make sure we're receiving our grant reimbursements timely. The emergency rental program, that should be coming before the committee, I would say within 60 days. The sheriff, jail, inmate telephone services, contract compliance is always key, I believe, for an audit area. DPS equipment, youth services, and then the workforce development. Them are just some of the key ones. There are other audits on the engagement. These are just some of the key ones we're proposing for this year. Just so everybody understands, we have our main engagement we do is the performance audit. We also do the corrective action plan assessments. We do a limited review engagement with the standalone financial statements. These are where the external auditors perform the financial statement review, and we try and put the financial statements in layman terms so that we can understand the issues within the county with those standalones. We do our ACFR budget census review. This is done every year after the ACFR is submitted to the state. We also provide input to budget hearings, and one of our projects within the offices, we are the office responsible for monitoring the external audit contract. And that's primarily the audit plan, unless there's any questions. I don't know if Darcel had any comments.
Good morning, Commissioners. Through the chair, Darcel Brown, Legislative Liaison for the Wayne County Executive. Just want to send out a special thank you to Marcy on her patience as we work to collect these assessments for the departments. So again, thank you for your hard work as well.
Thank you to Darcel and Janelle. I know they were instrumental in getting them to us.
Okay, do we have any commissioner questions or discussion on the audit plan? No? Okay, well, thank you so much for this. We're looking forward to working on the audit plan for this year. Okay.
Approval of this item, Madam Chair.
It's a receiving file.
It's our receiving file.
Well, move that to.
All right. We have a motion for receiving file from Commissioner Colleen, support from Commissioner Clerk Coleman. All those in favor, please say aye. Anyone opposed? Anyone wishing to abstain? Motion approved. Next item, please.
Item 2, discussion on the county ombudsman position.
All right, so we're gonna talk about the county ombudsman program, which we discussed December, I think it was December. And we'll just have a little bit of follow-up on that. I think we've got some,
We have
So we have Sue.
representatives from the administration.
okay. And we're also gonna talk about the fraud investigation unit, is that correct?
Yes,
Okay.
the ombudsman's kind of ties into the fraud investigative
Yes,
unit.
okay. Welcome.
Good morning.
Introduce yourself and name and title for the record.
Good morning. Sue Hamu, Deputy Corporation Counsel.
Javion Johnson, Constituent Relations Coordinator.
Good morning, Brian Reinhardt, serves as Chief of Staff to the County Executive.
Donna Wilson, PHR Director.
All right, who wants to start?
Just to provide a little background, this came up during when we had the prosecuting attorney's office here presenting they're supposed to come annually to the Committee on Audit to discuss the fraud investigative policy, ongoing investigations that they currently have. And the question came up, if the county executive has an ombudsman's person, how does that comply with the fraud investigative policy? And are all the fraud investigative policy concerns being sent to the prosecuting attorney's office and not being handled internally? I guess that's right.
So I guess I can start with the first question of we do not have an ombudsman.
Okay.
Okay. I think there was an individual in the position as late as the fall of last year. He's no longer with us, and we have not had one since then, and there's no intention of replacing anyone by that title.
Commissioner Coleman.
The last one that I'm aware of, Derek Lockridge.
Correct.
Derek Lockridge.
Is he no longer with the county at all? Okay.
Correct.
So we're not going to replace the ombudsman position?
No.
All right.
Javion Johnson has, it's not called ombudsman, but I think it's kind of a similar position where he receives complaints on behalf of the county.
Okay. And Javion, what is your position again?
Constituent Relations Coordinator.
Okay. So on the Wayne County website, when you go to the executive's homepage and you click on his email, I'm not sure if we discussed this last time, but it takes you to an email address that is ombudsman@waynecounty.com. That I think, in my opinion, is a little misleading. So not sure if that is.
We've changed it.
Okay, all right, so that is,
Yeah.
does it go to like executive or what does it go to now?
I believe the name has been changed. I will check again with Hector, but it is Constituent Relations at WayneCounty.com.
Okay, wonderful. Yes, Marcy.
From our perspective, the concern we would have is if complaints come in that could be a possible criminal nature, how are those complaints being handled when they come through you?
Those will be fielded and sent over to the prosecutor's office.
Commission Counsel has her. hand.
Commission Counsel.
Through the chair to this honorable body, if you recall from our recent discussion regarding the prosecutor's audit for the fraud, I think I mentioned the ombudsman's position, and I just want to give some history for those who were not here at the time. So at the time that the county revamped the fraud ordinance, it came to light to the commission that indeed several complaints were going to the ombudsman and not making it to the prosecutor pursuant to the ordinance. And there was a lot of discussion and concern at that time. That was at the point where the administration agreed to eliminate the ombudsman's position because of the potential conflict of complaints going directly to the CEO's office when it's involving individuals in that division or department or under his authority. And then that's when the fraud 1-800 number was created, and there was an effort to post that number to make sure everyone knew exactly where complaints should go. So I guess the question is, and I don't know what constituent relations mean, is that for the public? And is there some distinction when you go to the website that says constituent relations, and it's only for individuals of the public making complaints and not potentially individual employees making complaints? Is there some distinction that's made that's clear to everyone, or is there no distinction? And will the creation of this position, when complaints are going to that particular individual or email, does that raise the same concerns that this body had prior?
Yes, so that is my interpretation of it, where if I saw constituent relations where, you know, I as a constituent would be wanting to contact the executive versus fraud investigation unit, someone suspects fraud within the county, whether it's an employee or an outside person. Is that correct? Is that what we're doing now?
I guess I don't, so yes, if it's a fraud, if constituent relations receives a fraudulent complaint, which they should not, but hypothetically, let's say they do receive a fraudulent complaint, JVN would in turn forward that to the prosecutor's office.
Commissioner Clark, could you turn your microphone on? Thank you.
How would a person know that they're supposed to send it to a person who has a title of constituent relations? That, to me, does not equate with fraud. So I guess my question is, if I was a person who wanted to report something of that sort, and then I'd go on the website and I would see constituent relations, that would not tell me that I'm supposed to send a fraud report to there.
Correct.
To them.
Fraud reports should not be submitted to constituent relations.
So where would it go?
Fraud reports are supposed to go to the prosecutor's office.
Okay. So they would not come to him at all.
Unless somebody, and we can't control what people complain about. So unless somebody files a fraud complaint with the constituent relations coordinator, the coordinator would forward that to the prosecutor's office.
I see. If by mistake,
Right.
Yes.
it goes to you,
Correct.
you would immediately forward it to the prosecutor's office.
Correct.
So what are we doing to educate
Yeah.
the public and Wayne County employees on how they should report fraud?
That's on the website, is it?
We'd have to look at the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office website, but it's our understanding that is it not?
It's on the main.
On our main page.
It's
It's
on
on the
our main
website.
page.
It's on the main page.
Are we referring to,
It's under transparency and government.
apologize, we're just looking really quickly. I understand what we're trying
Yeah.
to achieve here, right? You'd like the public to know if they have a complaint
Right,
of this nature, this is where it would go.
right.
And if I can just hop in, Darcel Brown, again, legislative liaison for the executive. We did search the website to find out if the prosecutor had a page to be able to submit any type of fraud issues, but I wasn't able to find one, so I'm not sure if the
Mm.
Commission Council has, if there's a site where individuals can go to and make reports. I guess that would be outside of our office.
So through the chair to this honorable body, on the homepage, there is a,
Microphone on.
oh, through the chair to this honorable body, on the homepage, there is a section over to the right, several sections, and one of them is called complaints and inquiries. Right? Doesn't say fraud, doesn't say constituent relations, but if you go to that, click that link, it takes you to constituent relations. So I think one thing the county could potentially do is clarify that this is constituent relations and not call it complaints, and then maybe have another category in the same column with all these others that says fraud or something like that. And then that way it's clear to the public and maybe employees who are looking for the information that this is constituent relations related to however the description is, constituent matters, and then this one is fraud. Because right now, the tab simply says complaints and inquiries, but it takes you directly to constituent relations. And so I think that maybe just clarifying and updating the website probably could help resolve that. It's my understanding, and I don't know to answer Darcel's question, if the prosecutor has a website, it's been a while since we've looked at this, but we know that there is a 1-800 number, and I'm sure some simple information could be put together to make sure that it's clear and up to date and all the information is available on the web.
Okay, Marcy?
I was kind of around the same lines as Felicia just indicated. If the website where the one is going to be for fraud, that should be going directly to the fraud investigative unit within the prosecuting attorney's office. And then like Felicia said, maybe distinction for the constituency one, then maybe even on the constituency one, put it again. If this is fraud related, then direct them to the fraud.
And just for clarity, does the prosecutor have a fraud site? Because I was unable to find one. I mean, where is that? Do they have it posted since they do host the ombudsman position?
Well, they're supposed to have, and I think the Human Relations Division was supposed to distribute, if I'm remembering the ordinance correctly, fraud-related information. But again, we'll have to get with the prosecutor's office. I don't know what they have put together or not.
Okay.
Commissioner Colleen?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, it's unfortunate the prosecutor's not here, so we have everybody in the same room. Commission Counsel, because this has been an item we've been discussing for years. I believe it's the Michigan Constitution that gives prosecutors the duty to investigate fraud. It's stated somewhere the prosecutor would refer to that all the time when we first started talking about this 6-7 years ago. What's the legal document that gives the prosecutor the right, the authority to do fraud investigations internal?
So the prosecutor by law is charged with looking at criminal matters. That is under the prosecutor's purview. I know there are statutory statutes out there. I don't know exactly how they read. I can't tell you exactly if the Constitution refers to fraud, but we do know, and I think everyone here would probably agree that criminal matters fall within the prosecutor. Fraud is a potential criminal matter. And then you have the county ordinance that specifically sets up that internal county process. And that our ordinance says that it goes directly to the prosecutor. So it's not supposed to be distributed. For example, if it does go to constituent relations, it's not supposed to be distributed internally among other departments or division heads. It should only go directly to the prosecutor. That way you preserve the integrity of any investigation that the prosecutor will do. But I don't think there would be, and I'm looking at Sue, that any disagreement that fraud would fall under the prosecutor's
Absolutely.
purview.
No,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Well, thank you, counsel. That's one thing I wanted to clarify with Corporation Counsel. Because at one time that was a little bit of a question mark, and the discussion was.
No, there is no question.
Well,
Yeah.
Going back.
Right,
where-
but I'm saying.
I know.
Okay.
But I'm saying, going back to those discussions, right? And the discussions were, how do you have an employee report fraud to the very people that oversee them? And making sure that that does go to the prosecutor. Mr. Johnson, have you received any kind of fraud, anything you've had to refer to the prosecutor?
Not since Derek has left, no.
Okay. Are those calls logged?
Calls, we haven't received any, it's an email system.
Or whatever you receive, are those logged? Whether they're fraud or not, or whether they're just.
I believe when he was here, they were logged, yes.
Have you gotten any
But I haven't had any. So
emails?
not in regards to fraud, no.
Okay. Because I would think, Madam Chair, that having a log of anything that comes in through the ombudsman's office and a log that would be auditable, just to see that. But the clarity on the website is important. And I'm sorry, I'll step back. You had a comment?
I just had a question. So when you say ombudsman, you want the prosecutor's office ombudsman to provide a log, or our constituent?
No, the
Constituents,
what we
two different
have
things.
in the executive branch,
Okay.
not in the we can deal with the she ain't here, we're gonna deal with her,
Donna.
but
Did you have, I think Donna has a response to your question, Commissioner
Oh.
Colleen.
Only to the point of employees. So in the employee handbook is online,
Yeah.
there, the 1-800-fraud number is there. And I tried the link that's currently there and it
Yeah.
looks like it goes to an email box, but it's not opening.
well, and this is the key here, and it always has been with confusion about where to go. It must be clear.
Yep.
On the website, both on the prosecutor and on the county website, that these are, and it can't be 12 clicks to find it. To get it back in there, I think this is something that has to be, I don't know anybody in this room that's in favor of fraud, so we should be, very definitely and publicly saying to the public and to our employees through our website, this is the path that you follow. So I don't know how we do that, but wish the prosecutor was here and we can, and none of us are looking online at what you're looking at either, but it sounds like it's a little bit of a scavenger hunt to go find this on the website. So more clarity. I don't know how we do that, Madam Chair, but we need to have that done in a month or so.
If
Good morning
our-
through the
our-
chair, Tony Guerrero here.
Oh, prosecutor's office is here.
Hi, Tony,
Well-
go ahead.
Thank Mr. Adams. I was unaware that we had anything on the agenda. So I'm happy to answer any questions. I just signed in, so I'm not sure exactly what's up. How can I help?
So, Marcy, go ahead.
So this all came about according to Fraud Investigative Unit policy. Twice a year, the prosecutor's office, their investigative unit is supposed to come and report cases that are closed that they've handled. They came in December. It was James Bivens and gave an update. He hadn't been in the position for very long. But one of his concerns were that whether county employees were even aware of the fraud investigative policy. Within the policy, it gives some stipulations what the Director of Personnel and Human Resources must do. And that's, the full text is part of the county policies and manuals. It's going to be on bulletin boards. When an employee is hired, they're given a copy of the fraud investigative policy. But something he mentioned, and we talked about within our offices, maybe annually when each employee does their conflict of interest, maybe they need to attest that they've read the fraud investigative policy so that we know each year employees are aware of the policy and what they're supposed to do. That was a thought.
And Tony, we just wanted to know does the prosecutor have anything on her website, or how is she educating Wayne County's employees or the public on how to report fraud?
After the December meeting, we discussed that back at the office so that will go on our website. We suggested also that the auditor's suggestion was stellar. We think that that's one way to absolutely make sure that the employees know about the fraud hotline. But also, if I remember correctly, I believe we suggested that it be placed on the county website, similar to the link for the Board of Ethics.
Okay. So I have a question from Commission Council and then Corporation Council.
Certainly.
And to clarify, it is on the prosecutor's website.
Okay.
It's a little difficult to find. So perhaps the link, like Tony just mentioned, on the homepage, and then the online WayneCounty.com fraud, that link doesn't work. So if someone was going to link to maybe make the complaint electronically, I guess this link is not working. So perhaps IT can assist with that as well.
Okay. So I think we
I'll make
just
certain
need-
that
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Oh,
I
I
will
was
make
gonna say,
certain that
yeah, if the
our IT director will take care of it.
Okay, great. Yeah, if all parties involved could just check their links, if we can get that on the home. Council, Sue.
I'm sorry. I was just a bit confused because I thought we were talking about constituents and then we started talking about employees because that's a different.
Okay, so will there be a different process for how an outside constituent non-employee reports fraud versus an a Wayne County
I don't
employee.
believe, I'm
to
gonna,
report.
I'm gonna defer to Donna here in a minute, but I don't think the process is any different. I think the notification is different, but.
Okay,
Yeah.
go ahead, Donna.
That's correct. So employees upon hire receive the information at new employee orientation. We do it in the annual COI also, and then it's in the employee handbook. So there's at least three touch points, 3 to 4 touch points a year.
Okay, but Commissioner Clark.
But it still doesn't address, we only talking, when we're talking about personnel and human resources, that's just for the employees. We still didn't address how a person from the outside, they see a fraud of some kind and they want to report it. How would they know where to go to report it? And if it was on the website and it was clear, and I think that it ought to be not just on the prosecutor's website. It ought to be on the Wayne County website to direct them to the right place, to the prosecutor's office or wherever, so that if a person is calling in and they're unfamiliar with Wayne County practices, but they have an issue that they think that involves fraud, then they should be able to go on, and that's the only one that they're going to think about will be the Wayne County website. They should be able to go on that website and perhaps a link and perhaps to mention, to specifically talk about the 1-800 fraud number and something of that sort, or a link to the prosecutor's office, because they're not going to know to go to the prosecutor's website.
Right, and that is what we talked about. We're going to go back and do with DOIT and the prosecutor's office, make sure that all the appropriate links work and make sure that the website is updated to be able to link that together. I think somebody mentioned the same way that ethics complaints are filed. And I do want to say that sometimes the ethics board does receive fraud complaints also.
Could that link that's on, will be placed on the Wayne County website, could that be used by employees and non-employees? Okay,
Yes.
I think that would just be the simplest way,
I do too.
you know, and I know, Donna, you mentioned employees get that information when they first are onboarded, it's in the employee handbook, but when you're first hired, you get a lot of information. You don't always retain everything, and then a year goes by, 2 years, and then, you know, if something happens, you don't remember. But if you just go to the website, it's there.
It is.
Very simple. So, okay.
Through the chair, may I weigh in for a second?
Yes, please, Tony.
It would seem to me that putting it on the county website is a great idea, but we need to separate out the link. It has to be a dual link, one for non-employees and the other for employees. And that way there's no confusion.
Okay, why would that be? What would be the difference?
Well, we already have it on the prosecutor's website, but putting it onto the county website, my recollection of the ordinance is our jurisdiction for the prosecutor's fraud investigator is simply employees, not the public. I mean, and that's from memory, but I do believe that that is correct.
Okay, Marcy?
To that point, section 73.3A1 says the county official employee become aware of facts or certain which cause employees to suspect any kind of wrongdoing of a criminal nature which involves county property or services. So how would the services piece play in? Because a constituent could see possible fraud with the service.
And Tony, who would prosecute fraud reported by the public?
I can't answer that. I believe that would have to be it's beyond our jurisdiction, the way the ordinance is written, but it would require either a referral to the sheriff's office or to the Michigan State Police in order for a case to be developed.
Commissioner Kline.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And Madam Chair, I'm going to suggest, because now the discussion with the prosecutor saying that they're obligated when employees report fraud, but not necessarily the general public. So we got to look at what our ordinance has to say about that. And I'd also say, we've talked about this for a number of years. Madam Chair, I would suggest that maybe in about 3 months here, we give Commission Counsel, Corporation Counsel, and the Prosecutor's Office the opportunity to discuss this and say, what should it look like? What should it say on the county website? What should it say on the prosecutor's website? And hopefully we can come back here in about 3 months and say, yeah, we've addressed these questions and this is how it is. Because there can't be any ambiguity here. People don't like phone trees and they don't like being called, well, you called the wrong place, push 7 instead of that. That can be very frustrating for people, especially if they're looking at what we're talking about here. So we don't want to discourage people. We want to make it as easy as possible for people. And I'm not going to raise the discussion item here, but I think also what's going on with the ethics board and how that fits in to what we're doing here as well. Just so we have a roadmap and one that's easily understandable by the public. Or when people get excited about this, the press, and they go looking for something and they can't find it, and that's not a good article in the paper the next day. So I think just to clarify this, hopefully we can get back here in about 3 months with an agenda item and everybody's said kumbaya and we've got it.
Yes, so,
Thank you.
thank you, Commissioner Kline. Let's plan on meeting sometime in March. I know you said 3 months, but let's try for March. And, if we're not, if we're not there yet, we can put it off till April. But, if we can find out who takes the fraud reports from the public, from non-employees, if that needs to go to the sheriff's office. But in the meantime, if we can get all of the links updated, the links that are currently located on our website in various places, and look at putting something clearly on our main page, at least for employees, that would be great. And then we'll just finish for today, reconvene, hopefully in March.
Can I ask?
Yes,
A
Sue.
question,
One line.
Marcy or Felicia, if you guys know, does the commission have an ombudsman or no? Okay.
All right, back to the agenda, Madam Clerk. So we actually did item 3 too, but I don't know if you need to read that. Okay. All right, so next item.
F, such other matters as may be properly submitted before the committee.
Thank you all for joining us. I have none.
G, public comments.
Is there anyone here who wishes to make a public comment to the Committee on Audit? If there's anyone in the room with us physically or on Zoom, on the phone, you can just unmute yourself. Anyone for public comments? Last call. Did we receive any emails?
No emails.
Okay. All right, next item.
Adjournment.